Suzie, I am so incredibly excited to have you here because I have been very intrigued by this program that you've spent a long time developing for wounded military veterans, really. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure, and thank you for having me. Yeah, the programme started in its sort of embryo position about 4 years ago when I was invited to go to Headley Court, DMRC, to work with the staff there actually. And I started teaching staff yoga once a week, and eventually the physios and the OTs thought it would be a good idea for me to work with some of the soldiers in order to get them to breathe and to relax more. So I started to work with the soldiers, and soon that took over. So it was from going from an hour perhaps a week with the guys to the whole day, and then moving from there to getting it onto a really a timetable, so it's actually on their timetable. So it is adaptive yoga for wounded military, and the program has evolved since then, and I've been doing that now at Headley for about 4 years. When you see these, if I talk about the guys for a moment, but when you see these guys whose bodies have just been completely wrecked, they're amputees, or it might be more a mental level where they have PTSD, they're suffering from shock, they're suffering all kinds of trauma. So what yoga actually does is it works both physically and mentally. So it's more mind, body, spirit. And spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus, which is breath. So the mind and body and breathing techniques that we use bring about a whole, if you like, working within their body. So they feel as though they're not just doing something physical, and some of them are not able to do too much physical work, but by just using the breathing techniques, when the session is finished, they feel so much better, they feel much more relaxed and able then to do more things like their physio. So it enables them to go on and do the work that they're actually doing at Headley Court, because they're in a position where they feel calmer. Their flashbacks, their phantom pain is all controlled, if you like, by using yoga physically and using the breath work. When the guys are in relaxation, for instance, but when they are in a relaxed state, things will actually begin to release from their body. And when they start to breathe, they have said themselves that they know that they have this tool inside them, which we know that they have, that they can bring up at any time. And going into their breathing techniques, and there are about 4 major breathing techniques that I use, and these breathing techniques help to control their pain. They also say that when they're waking up at 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning and using the breathing techniques, they're actually getting back to sleep. And if you say that to a squaddy, well, I'm going to teach you to breathe, their first reaction is, really? I can breathe. But of course they're just breathing into their chest, they're not breathing into the whole of their body, so they're not getting that fresh oxygenated blood through their brain either.
What bit of magic have you got, or what magic wand have you got to persuade young virile soldiers to come and lie on a yoga mat?
I think the fact that they actually get to the door is the main thing. And then when I get them through the door, I just say to them, just give me this hour and I will prove to you that you will feel better. And I've never known anyone say, actually, you know what, that just didn't work for me. And it's not to see their physical issues, it's not to see anything else but the human being that's actually there, that this soul, if you like, this human body has been damaged in any way. But to just get them on the mat and say, okay, almost like saying, okay, I'll take care of it now. For this next hour, I will teach you how to really take care and to relax.
It's very moving. So are you actually saying that for that time that they're with you, that they become so comfortable with themselves in a way that they forget that they've lost limbs, that they stop looking at each other, Is that what happens?
Definitely. And I'm usually 9 times out of 10 I'm on the floor with them, because if I want to move, say, a double amputee or a triple amputee, the only way to move them is physically myself, with my body. So I will get on the floor, I'll put my feet into their hip maybe and start to turn them and hold their shoulder down and give them, you know, a lovely twist, which of course goes straight into the liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, churns everything up. And so at that point, I don't think that they feel in any way physically hurt. I think they just are sort of gone so deep inside at that point where they're actually feeling how they feel inside, which is, I need to breathe, I need to let this go. I heard a lovely story about letting go, and it was the monkeys in India, which are such a pest, and in certain parts of India the villagers won't kill them, so they put a little cage at night time out for the monkeys, and inside the cage is something sweet to eat or something very shiny, and the bars to the cage are very, very slim, so the monkey puts his hand through the bar and gets hold of the sweet meat or whatever it is, because he can't get his hand back out, and he'll stay there all night. So the villagers come in the morning, they cover them up with blankets and they haul them off. All the monkey has to do is let go. And I tell the guys this, you know, so they're holding on to stuff, and eventually they will begin to let go, and they do begin to let go. And my belief is that they're doing that with the breath.
What is so clear is that the success has already attracted publicity for you, but
Yes,
for me, the real endorsement that you have been contracted to come over to America and to launch teacher training courses now, to teach others to do what you're doing.
Yes.
Because obviously you can, there's only one of you, but the added dimension is that you're doing this together with people like Bessel van der Kolk, who is linked to Harvard. Perhaps you can tell us a bit about
Yes, when I spoke to my school in America last year, and I'd gone over with a double amputee who was training to be a yoga teacher, and we spoke then in depth about me doing a teacher training program for teachers, and the idea then was that this would be a 3-week program for yoga teachers. So it couldn't be somebody who just wanted to do the program, they have to be a yoga teacher to start off with. And my school suggested that I worked with Bessel and I worked with Dana Moore, who would come in they're going to come in for 2 days of this 3-week program, so that Bessel will be talking about PTSD within the military. The American government have actually employed Bessel to work with the American military and Harvard University, together with Dana Moore. So their work will be a part of this 3-week training course that we're actually going to be doing. PTSD is everywhere within the wounded military.
Of course,
And they are the walking wounded. And this is one of the biggest problems, I think, facing these wounded warriors. And in the First World War, it was called Soldier's Heart, romantic name for such a dreadful thing. And in the Second World War, it was called shell shock, and now it's actually called what it is, post-traumatic stress disorder. Everything has to be treated at the same time. You can't just say, well, you know, we can put on a prosthetic leg and everything's going to be fine. That's just the surface. That's absolutely nothing compared to what is going on in that person's mind, in his brain. With the guys in particular, the certain yoga postures will actually open that up completely. And obviously we have to be careful at which stage we start to do that. For instance, one of the positions, Matsyasana, which is the fish, lifts the sternum, takes the rest of the body slightly down, tips the lungs backwards slightly. And we've always known in yoga that that was about grief. But what we also know is it releases anger. And there is a lot of anger to come out. I went to a convent boarding school very young, and I knew I didn't quite fit in, but I knew why I was there. I knew that I'd had to go there because my mother was very abusive. So already there was something in me. And when I went to my first yoga class when I was 20, I just knew that this was for me. And something happened to me the moment I met the teacher, the moment I laid on the floor, the moment I moved my body in a different way, the moment I was taught how to breathe. I would hope that in 5 years' time we would have many more teachers taking the programme that can go out into the world and bring some comfort and hope to these wounded warriors, and that in 10 years' time that number will have doubled, and that we'll have learned some lessons on the way.